Welcome to Iron Views, the show where I review Marvel and DC comics, and today I review Civil War II, Issue 4. The comic begins at the Triskelion, where we see Captain Marvel walking towards the room where She-Hulk is. Carol walks in and is happy to see She-Hulk is alright. Carol asks She-Hulk if she remembers anything before she blacked out, and She-Hulk remembers Thanos and all that going badly. She-Hulk asks Carol how long she was out, and since she woke up, no one's talking to her. Carol explains she wanted to be the one to tell her, with She-Hulk wondering what happened. Carol explains that it's about her cousin Bruce and tells her he's gone. She-Hulk thinks that Bruce is off planet, but Carol informs her that Bruce Banner is dead. She-Hulk thinks it's impossible, he's the Hulk, and asks Carol how he died, and Carol tells She-Hulk that it was Hawkeye that killed him. She-Hulk wonders where Hawkeye is, and Carol tells her he was arrested and put on trial for what he did, and explains to She-Hulk that she was out for a long time and she just woke up in time for his verdict, and She-Hulk is wondering what it is. Carol just stares and She-Hulk gets madder and asks what the verdict is, and we cut to Times Square where we see on the news channel reporters say that Hawkeye was proven innocent. Two of the reporters discuss how they're surprised by this verdict. In fact, the entire world hasn't seen anything like this. They report that the Daily Bugle poll says that 87% of the country agrees with the verdict, and even though Barton confessed to the crime he committed. One of the reporters says it's not that he killed, but it's who he killed, and I mean some people saw it as an assisted suicide while others saw it as a mercy killing. But others surprisingly seem happy that the Hulk is gone, and one of the reporters says that isn't really surprised about that. I mean, say you lived in Arizona or New Mexico, the Hulk gone has to be a huge relief. The second reporter says that they may think that many people are dying for a statement from the other founding Avengers, but surprisingly there hasn't been a statement. The first reporter wants to hear from Tony Stark. I mean, it kinda looked a little apologetic during the court session. The second reporter tells him that the only thing in the world he knows for sure is to never count Tony Stark out. We go elsewhere as Tony Stark discusses with a group of heroes about his situation. Tony feels he needs help about Ulysses. Tony knows they think he's being overdramatic about him, that maybe he's lashing out at Carol because of Rhodey or Bruce, and maybe what they say is true, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. Tony tells everyone if they ever learned anything as heroes or Avengers, it's that the future is not written. It can't be written, and that's Tony's problem with Ulysses. You can't just see a future that hasn't happened yet, and this kid, who they don't have much information on, keeps having these visions about us. Visions of criminal activity, natural disasters, and much more. He's the conduit to these visions, and he doesn't just have them, he experiences them like he's actually there and lives these disasters and horrors. But how does that not affect him mentally? How come every time he has one of these visions, he comes out okay? But if these visions affect him, he has to some way affect the vision. So what Tony did is took it upon himself to scan the kid's mind. He knows that sounds a little Dr. Doom-ish, but he did it, and what's done is done. But he did it because deep down, beyond hope, he would be wrong. He wanted to be wrong so he can go back to his normal life. But he discovered something far worse than he originally feared and shows the group of heroes a scan of Ulysses' brain. Tony explains that Ulysses can absorb all the data and energies cascading around the world, even from energies they don't even know about. Tony explains that everything in this world puts out energy, and what this kid does is he takes in all the energy and he spits it back out, turning it into these visions. He has all these visions of a theoretical future. He doesn't just see the future, he predicts it. It's just guesswork, that's all it is. And yes, it's a very possible future, but it's entirely based on guesswork. And now that he knows this, Ulysses' visions scare him more than they ever did. And he does know that Thanos did show up, and Bruce was about to Hulk out, but what would have happened really after that? Tony explains that this is profiling a future, and with Carol acting it on as if it were the Bible, she is basically by definition profiling individuals. She may call it something else, but she never knew what Tony knows now, and all she's doing is betting on the math being absolute, but it's not, and no one involved in these visions is given a choice. What he's saying is that free will is being eliminated. Tony's saying that if they allow this kid's power to have the final say, no one in his visions will be accountable for themselves. And ever since the Hulk vision, his visions are getting more powerful and powerful at the minute. Now he can actually bring people into his visions and make other people see what he sees, and that changes everything. How big will it get? Will it ever stop? And will these visions grow more accurate or less? So tell him he's crazy, that all of this is nonsense, and Tony swears he'll give up. If they tell Tony to stop, he will, because now, after all these years, he finally knows to listen to Steve Rogers. Steve asks if Tony is absolutely sure about this, and Tony tells him yes. Why would he call all of them here together? And does Steve think he really wants to be in the same room with Medusa after all the things she did to his life? But what he's trying to say is that the last time there was a strong moral moral line between them. He doesn't want that to happen again. He doesn't want to do it with Steve or Carol or anyone, but Carol is forcing his hand. The facts are forcing his hand. Carol asks Henry McCoy to look over this information first before they discuss this further, but Henry tells Carol he already has, and it's not wrong, and Tony asks what is Carol going to do as the heroes stare at Carol. Carol asks all the heroes if a person were to walk up to them and tell them that that guy over there has a gun and he said he was about to open fire, would you go check it out or see if what the person says is true and wait for it to happen? Then Tony just tells her what's the difference, what would the probability percentage need to be acceptable for one of these visions to come true? Tony tells Carol what if he told her that there was only a 10% chance of that vision coming true, but Carol tells Tony that they were saying if there was a 10% chance Thanos would attack. Well, that's more than enough for her because she would take that chance, and tells Tony that Rhodey would agree with her. Carol tells everyone she's done now and tells Tony to back off and flies up, breaking the ceiling. Tony asks Steve if what he's saying is crazy and if it's her call to make, but Henry wonders if it's Tony's call, but Tony says no. After what happened to Banner, he's going public with this and everyone needs to know what Carol's up to. Carol goes back to the Triskelion and asks if T'Challa and Hill found anything. Hill explains they can't hold her any longer and what they found out is she's just a banker working for a high-end corporation and she has no connection to any other organization or S.H.I.E.L.D. watch list. Hill tells Carol this woman is just a civilian, and even her father, who's a Chicago police officer, is getting the press involved. And Hill asks what Ulysses' vision was about this woman. Carol walks in the room, and the woman demands that Carol let her go. Carol asks Miss Green if she knows about Hydra, and she says yes, they're terrorists. Carol tells Miss Green that she knows what she is, and she tells her that she's a high-ranking, deep-cover Hydra agent who's trying to destroy the financial institution that holds this world together. Miss Green is confused what she's talking about, but Carol explains that they have her now, and her confession will be reflected on her trial, but Miss Green is confused, and she tells Carol she is not a Hydra agent. Carol asks why she had an empty briefcase, and Miss Green explains that she was only switching her bags for work, and she tells Carol she can't just hold her here, but Carol tells her she does. Carol explains that she has every legal right to keep her here. Miss Green tells Carol that she has it wrong, she is no Hydra agent, she's an innocent, and she demands to have a phone call, now. Hill explains that Carol needs to find proof, but Carol tells them that they will find it, but just as they talk about this, a puff of smoke appears where Miss Green was, and she has been teleported out of the room. Carol, T'Challa, and Hill see it was Nightcrawler, and Hill reports to everyone to activate lockdown mode, and Carol calls up everyone to meet with her. Carol tells her she is arresting Stark, and Hill informs her that Stark is on the rooftop. Carol walks out onto the rooftop and sees Stark with his group of heroes. Stark tells her she was warned countless times to stand down, and now he's forced his hand. Carol informs Stark he's under arrest, but Stark wishes her good luck with that, because soon he'll be showing everyone the information he found about Ulysses' powers. Stark explains that she will stand down, and she informs her that she's a little outpowered here. Carol just tells Stark that she is hardly outpowered. Besides, she has friends all over the place, as the Guardians of the Galaxy appear to help Carol. Civil War II Issue 4 was another big issue that made a lot of points for each side. Mostly Tony's in this issue and prepares us for the big fight that's happening next issue. I felt like this issue was a good issue, but I feel this issue was the most interesting out of all of them. One of those reasons is finding more about Ulysses' power, which is very interesting that all the points that Stark made, even the points about some of the visions having a certain probability of coming true and some of the visions that don't come true. Also, I wanted to discuss about Carol. I mean, in the beginning of this event, I did choose Iron Man's side, but I did feel Carol still had good reason for doing what she does and why she wants to do it, and I was almost convinced to like her side. But in this issue, we see her still trying to prove a vision, even though Hill and T'Challa found no more information, but Carol doesn't want to be proved wrong, so she still continues to believe that this person is a Hydra agent. I mean, even in the meeting, it seemed like she agreed with Tony, but she doesn't just want to be proved wrong. She still wants to use Ulysses. That kind of doesn't really make sense. I mean, I don't think that happened in the original Civil War, and what I mean about that is both sides of that original Civil War. I mean, we never saw Captain America and Iron Man do this. We never saw Captain America think he was wrong and was trying to prove himself that he was still right. I mean, in the end, we kind of saw that. I mean, he went to prison, but still. I mean, that's just weird how to see Carol act like that. I mean, it's not really fun and interesting and not fun. I mean, I really don't like that, and that doesn't make me like her side anymore. Also, one more thing. I mean, I don't think Bendis cares that much, but we see some of Storm's X-Men there with Carol, which makes no sense when you think they're dealing with their own problem in this event in a separate tie-in, which really doesn't make sense why they're here now, even even if they're dealing with Magneto. Also, we see Ant-Man on Carol's side, which is fine, I really don't care, but in the Ant-Man run for All New All Different Marvel, he's in prison, so how does he get out? I mean, is that explained in the tie-in? I really don't know. I mean, it just seems Bendis doesn't really care and that he just wants to tell a story, which in some places, that's good. I mean, just tell your own story and fill in the gaps later. But sometimes that's bad, and I just don't really like that. I have to say before I give my overall rating that one of my favorite scenes was the S.H.I.E.L.D. part. It was nice to see S.H.I.E.L.D. again, and I wonder how we'll see her more in the Civil War. Overall, good story, great art as usual, and nice ending, showing us what will happen next issue with the big fight. I give this a 7.5 out of 10, and I recommend this book to people who are still following the main Civil War 2 event. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Iron reviews, and check out my Twitter at IronHulk018. My name's August, and until then.